how did you guys get into the storage?
Anderson, actually for 15 or 20 years, I was a top-ranked international male escort.
Millions watched Storage Wars for the massive finds, chaotic bidding wars, and unforgettable personalities. But once the cameras stopped rolling, many of those fan-favorite stars faced lives filled with scandal, tragedy, illness, arrests, and shocking downfalls. Some disappeared from the spotlight completely. Some faced legal trouble that destroyed their reputations. And others met heartbreaking ends that fans never expected. In 2026, the stories behind the cast are far darker than the show ever revealed. These are the Storage Wars stars who died, vanished, or faced jail after fame. While the series captivated millions, the struggle for survival behind the scenes was grueling. For some, the pressure of the spotlight changed their lives forever. Let's begin with the man who truly defined the soul of the show. 1. Daryl Sheets, the gambler who risked everything. If you ever watched Storage Wars, you remember Daryl Sheets. He was fearless, outspoken, and always ready to drop a fortune on a storage locker that nobody else would touch. While other buyers played it safe, Daryl believed the biggest rewards came from the biggest risks. His audacious attitude is exactly why fans started calling him the Gambler. You see, long before reality TV made him a household name, Daryl had spent decades digging through abandoned units across California. He had a natural talent for spotting hidden treasures in piles of literal junk. One moment, he'd be tossing aside old clothes, and the next, he'd uncover a collection worth thousands of dollars. However, the high-pressure lifestyle eventually took a heavy toll on him. In 2019, Daryl suffered a major heart attack with a 95% blockage in one of his arteries. It was a condition that many don't survive, but somehow, Daryl pulled through. He tried to return to the spotlight, but fans could tell the spark was fading. By 2023, he decided to walk away for good, moving to Lake Havasu City to open a small antique shop. And for a while, he lived a peaceful life with his family away from the spotlight. But unfortunately, on April 22nd, 2026, Daryl died at the age of 67. Early reports mentioned a self-inflicted wound, and those close to him claimed he had been struggling with relentless online harassment during his final days. It was a painful end for a man who spent his life taking chances to entertain millions. Fans across the internet were stunned when the news broke. Many longtime viewers remembered Daryl as one of the true faces of Storage Wars, a man whose larger-than-life personality helped define the entire series during its peak years. Tributes quickly flooded social media, with fans sharing clips of his biggest locker wins, funniest moments, and unforgettable one-liners that made him such a standout on television. Former cast members and collectors also expressed sadness, describing him as someone who genuinely loved the thrill of treasure hunting and always brought energy into every room he entered. Behind the loud confidence and fearless bidding style, many now believe Daryl may have been carrying far more emotional weight than anyone realized publicly. His passing also sparked larger conversations about the pressure that reality television stars often face after fame fades and public attention turns negative online. For many viewers, Daryl Sheets will always be remembered not for the tragedy surrounding his final days, but for the excitement, unpredictability, and passion he brought to the world of storage auctions for so many years. Daryl's end was a shock to the production, but he wasn't the only star hiding a crumbling world behind a flashy persona. Next, we look at the man who outdressed everyone. 2. Mark Balelo, Rico Suave. In the early days of Storage Wars, Mark Balelo stood out the moment he stepped into an auction. While everyone else showed up in simple, dusty clothes ready to dig through lockers, Mark arrived dressed like a high-stakes businessman heading to a luxury gala. His expensive custom outfits, a fleet of luxurious cars, and the huge stacks of cash he carried became the core of his identity. In fact, fans gave him the nickname Rico Suave because of the effortless way he carried himself. He was confident, stylish, and he always made sure he looked like the wealthiest man in the room, regardless of what was actually inside the unit. However, behind his expensive suit and that confident smile, Mark was silently dealing with personal struggles that the viewers knew nothing about. He faced mounting legal problems and intense emotional pressure that slowly started affecting his mental health. Then, in February 2013, things took a serious and public turn when he was arrested on drug-related charges. According to people close to him, the situation deeply affected his mental state, leaving him shattered. He reportedly told his fiancée that he felt unstable and was genuinely scared about what was happening to his life and his reputation. Sadly, just 48 hours after his arrest, Mark was found dead inside his vehicle at his auction business in Simi Valley. He was only 40 years old. Officials later confirmed he died from carbon monoxide poisoning, and his death was ruled as self-inflicted. For many fans, Mark's passing became the first major tragedy linked to the show, leaving a permanent stain on the once lighthearted series. It was a staggering reminder that the glitter of reality television often hides a very dark, very private reality. Even in 2026, his story remains a cautionary tale about the weight of the spotlight. Even years after Storage Wars reached its peak popularity, Daryl remained one of the few cast members people instantly recognized. His aggressive bidding style, booming voice, and willingness to gamble enormous amounts of money created some of the most memorable moments in reality television history. But beyond the entertainment, many fans admired his determination and resilience. Daryl came from humble beginnings and built his reputation through instinct, hard work, and decades of experience in the storage auction business. In the end, supporters say that is how they want to remember him. Not as a tragic headline, but as a fearless risk-taker who transformed abandoned lockers into unforgettable television and became a legendary figure in the world of treasure hunting. 3. Jared Schultz, the Young Gun. Then there was Jared Schultz, the man millions of fans knew as the Young Gun. Jared brought a frantic, high-stakes energy to every auction floor he stepped on. He wasn't the type to sit back and calculate profit margins. In fact, if something caught his eye, he went for it with everything he had, even when the financial risk was dangerously high. Alongside his partner, Brandy Passante, he formed the most iconic duo in the history of the franchise. Their dynamic was legendary. Brandy was the voice of reason who watched the budget, while Jared trusted his gut over the math. Their constant back-and-forth bickering intrigued viewers and kept them engaged. But Jared had a history that long predated his time in the spotlight. Back in the late 90s, he served time in prison for substance possession, a fact that many viewers didn't learn until much later. When he finally made it onto this reality show, he looked like the ultimate comeback story. You could tell he's a man who had successfully rebuilt his life from the ground up, using the storage business to secure a better future for his family. And for years, this narrative worked perfectly. But as the seasons dragged on, the chemistry between Jared and Brandy began to sour behind the scenes. By 2018, they had quietly ended their relationship, even as they continued to film together for the cameras. The breaking point was in 2021 at a bar in Orange County. Jared was arrested and charged with misdemeanor domestic altercation involving Brandy. Even though he denied the allegations, the damage to his public image was permanent and irreparable. He was effectively scrubbed from the spotlight and eventually disappeared from the public eye altogether. By 2026, he remains a distant and controversial figure, remembered more for the way his story crumbled than for the lockers he once won. And just when you think it couldn't get worse, the next star decided to burn the whole playbook by biting the very hand that fed him, claiming the reality we were all watching was a total fabrication. 4. Dave Hester, the mogul. If there was one person who could change the energy of a room the moment he walked in, it was Dave Hester. Whenever he stepped onto an auction floor, you could practically feel the tension rise. Unlike many of the other cast members who were figuring things out as they went, Dave was the real deal. A second-generation buyer who grew up in the world of auctions. He ran a big consignment shop in Newport Beach, and he used every bit of that experience to stay ahead of the competition. He didn't just show up to bid, he showed up to win, and his presence alone was enough to make other buyers second-guess their own strategies. But the most shocking moment in his career didn't happen at a locker. It happened in a courtroom. In 2012, Dave decided to pull back the curtain on the show itself. He filed a lawsuit against the network, claiming that the reality we were seeing wasn't exactly the whole truth. He alleged that some of the more exciting finds were actually placed there by producers to keep the ratings high. This move turned the production upside down and led to a very public and messy fallout. While he eventually returned to the series, that old spark and the trust he had with the fans never quite felt the same. In 2018, life threw Dave a curveball that no amount of business savvy could fix. He suffered a major stroke brought on by years of untreated sleep apnea. It was a terrifying health crisis that nearly ended his life. In fact, it left him facing a very long and difficult road to recovery. Fans who were used to seeing him as this unstoppable force were suddenly seeing a very vulnerable man. Today, Dave Hester is no longer the same powerful figure people remember from the early years of the show. Although he survived the stroke, reports say his health struggles forced him to slow down significantly. Some of his business operations were reduced or closed, and the man who used to command the attention of every bidder on the floor now enjoys a much more peaceful and private life away from the cameras. While the moguls were busy fighting in courtrooms, the heart of the show was fighting a more devastating battle that most fans never even noticed until it was over. 5. Mo Prygoff, the gentle giant. While most people on Storage Wars, Texas were known for their unending arguments and egos, Mo Prygoff brought something completely different to the screen. He was, quite simply, the heart of the show. Known for being calm, kind, and always wearing a genuine smile, Mo became an instant favorite for anyone who tuned in. And to Mo, these auctions weren't just about the fast cash or outbidding a rival. They were about the history, the art, and the hidden beauty of the items he found. He had a unique eye for things that others would call trash, often seeing a masterpiece where someone else saw a pile of wood. But while he was filming and sharing this positive energy with the world, Mo was quietly navigating a very personal and difficult challenge. For 6 years, he lived with a chronic illness that was slowly draining his physical strength. Most viewers never noticed a thing because Mo refused to let the physical toll define his spirit or change the kindness he showed to everyone around him. He continued to show up with the same warm energy, filming his segments and interacting with fans. In March 2021, the franchise lost one of its brightest lights. Mo passed away at the age of 78, surrounded by the family he loved so much. For many fans, his passing marked the end of an era for the show. He represented the softer, more human side of a business that is usually known for being cutthroat and aggressive. His absence is still felt today by those who valued character over drama. Mo proved that you could succeed in a tough world without losing your gentleness, and that is a legacy that remains as beautiful as the antiques he spent his life collecting. Mo's gentle light may have faded, but our next star lived life like a rock concert. He brought a legendary calm to the chaos, but a sudden diagnosis changed everything. 6. Gunter Nezota, the rocker. While many of the other buyers were aggressive and constantly looking for a confrontation, Gunter brought a calm, relaxed energy to every auction he attended. With his signature long hair, an easy smile, and a distinct rock and roll style, he felt more like a talented musician hanging out with friends than someone fighting over dusty lockers in the California sun. Working alongside his son Rene, Gunter became the most likable father and son team in reality TV history. Fans truly loved their chemistry because it felt 100% genuine. You could see the mutual respect and the deep love they had for one another. Sadly, in early 2023, Gunter shared some difficult news with his followers. He revealed that he was facing a serious health challenge, lung cancer that was spreading much faster than anyone expected. Like many people connected to the series, he tried to face this new reality with the same positivity and humor he brought to the screen. But the situation became difficult very quickly. In March of 2023, Gunter's journey came to an unexpected end at the age of 67. For Rene, the loss was overwhelming. He hadn't just lost a business partner, he had lost his mentor, his teammate, and his very best friend. Even today, many viewers say the auctions just don't feel quite the same without Gunter's calm spirit and his seasoned wisdom. He managed to build a lasting legacy centered around family and authenticity, staying far away from the scandals and personal disputes that often trapped so many of his co-stars. After his passing, tributes poured in from fans around the world who remembered Gunter not only as a television personality, but as someone who genuinely seemed kind-hearted and sincere every time he appeared on screen. Many viewers said he brought balance to the chaotic energy of Storage Wars, often acting as the calm voice in the middle of tense bidding battles and heated rivalries. Rene continued sharing emotional memories and old family photos online, giving fans a deeper look into the close bond they shared away from the cameras. For longtime followers of the show, those moments made Gunter's loss feel deeply personal. Even years later, clips featuring Gunter and Rene remain some of the most rewatched scenes from the series because of their natural humor, warmth, and authenticity. In an industry often driven by drama and conflict, Gunter Nezota stood out for an entirely different reason. He reminded audiences that kindness, loyalty, and family could still become unforgettable television. But while most of the cast were fighting for survival, our next star was playing an entirely different game. He didn't need the money, but he couldn't outrun the danger waiting for him on the road. 7. Barry Weiss, the collector. Then we have the most unforgettable man in the entire history of the franchise, Barry Weiss. He treated every single auction like one big, eccentric adventure. He would show up in rare custom cars, wear those famous skeleton gloves, and carry strange, high-tech gadgets to help him inspect the units. From the very first episode, it was obvious that Barry was playing an entirely different game than everyone else on the sidewalk. What made fans love him even more was the fact that he didn't actually need the money from the lockers. Barry had already built his wealth years ago in the produce business, which gave him the absolute freedom to be completely unpredictable. He wasn't desperate to win every unit. In fact, sometimes he would walk away from a clearly valuable locker simply because he didn't like the vibe of the room. This carefree attitude made him a legend, but in April 2019, this lifestyle was put on a sudden hold. While riding his motorcycle in Los Angeles, Barry was involved in a very serious road accident. The incident resulted in a long and difficult recovery involving several significant injuries, and for a while, his fans around the world genuinely worried about his well-being. He spent many months in the hospital and went through multiple procedures just to get back on his feet. The accident forced him to slow down for the first time in his life. Even though he made a brief, welcome return to the screen in 2021, the energy was understandably a bit different. Barry Weiss is seen as a true survivor who managed to keep his reputation and his fortune intact today. These days, he lives a much more peaceful life, focusing on his health and his world-class collection of rare automobiles. Barry managed to walk away with his legacy protected, but the same can't be said for a Texas couple whose story would end in a tragedy that no one saw coming. 8. Matthew and Di Mitchell, the Texas tragedy. While most of the stories connected to Storage Wars came out of the California auction scene, The pressure and heartbreak tied to fame did not stop there. As the franchise expanded into Texas, new faces started building names for themselves, and among them were Matthew and Thai Mitchell. In Houston, the couple was seen as successful, stylish, and deeply respected in the business world. They owned popular restaurants, including Traveler's Table, and many people viewed them as a rising power couple with the perfect balance of business success and family life. From the outside, everything looked stable. They had growing careers, public recognition, and a beautiful family that people admired. But in May 2026, this image completely fell apart. During a welfare check at their home in Houston's River Oaks neighborhood, police discovered a heartbreaking scene inside the house. Matthew and Thai had both passed away, and their 2 young children, Maya and Max, were also found there. The news spread quickly across the city, leaving friends, customers, and neighbors struggling to process what had happened. As investigators looked deeper into the case, the details became even more painful. Authorities later reported it was a murder involving Matthew and the rest of the family. Then, in the days that followed, another heartbreaking detail came out. Family members revealed that Thai had also been expecting another child at the time. For many people, the tragedy became another reminder that the lives people see from the outside are not always the full story. What looked like success, stability, and happiness to the public was hiding struggles no one fully understood until it was far too late. This is a staggering reminder that even the greatest success doesn't reflect the truth behind the scenes, leaving us to wonder what the true price of reality TV fame actually is. Today, as we look back at the journey of these Storage Wars icons, it becomes clear that the treasures they found inside those lockers were often the least valuable parts of their stories. We watched them for the thrill of the win and the humor of the hunt, but behind the edited scenes were real people navigating the complexities of fame, health, and personal change. Some walked away with their fortunes and legacies intact, while others were caught in a cycle of public pressure that eventually became too much to carry. Their lives remind us that the spotlight doesn't just illuminate, it also burns. As the echoes of the auctioneer's call fade away, we are left to wonder about the price of entertainment. Looking back at the original crew, which of these stars' journeys impacted you the most, and how do you think we should remember the people who gambled everything just to keep us watching? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What moment from the original crew still stands out to you the most? If you want more deep dives into the hidden lives of your favorite TV icons, make sure to like, subscribe, and click on the next video on your screen.